Good day, everyone. You're welcome to Justeventsonline TV. I'm Abdulkadir is your host again on my program, Issues and Realities. Today, I have with me an author, a scholar, a teacher, a lecturer, a cleric, and a public affairs analyst, Dr. Sanusi Lafiagi, who will be taking us through a long journey of one of the most pressing issues in Africa today. I can say in the whole world. That is the issue with America and Nigeria. But we'll be making it a conversation as he and I we share views from different angles. You're welcome on the show, sir.
Thank you very much.
Sir, I would say that you and I today we have a very difficult job in our hands. You are a Muslim and I am a Muslim. We want to discuss an issue that inherently has been portrayed to have been against Christians, which many people believe are the opposite side of Muslims in our own climate. But, sir, Donald Trump has made a statement. The Nigerian government has reacted. You, as a public observant and public affairs analyst, what can you say? Did you believe there is a Christian genocide in Nigeria?
Firstly, it's important to make a few clarifications, especially with regards to the outburst by the American president. And those clarifications are, number one, there are widespread killings in Nigeria, and these killings did not start today. They didn't start 10, 20 years ago. They have always been here with us, except that this probably is the first time that it is getting this much attention. Number two, these killings are being perpetrated by criminal elements with ties to ethnicity, religion, and what have you. But mostly, these killings have been perpetrated against innocent individuals cutting across the different religious and ethnic groups we have in Nigeria. There has never been a one-sided killing, in most of what has been happening. Then number three is that the term Christian genocide in Nigeria is non-existent. It's a political statement. It's a reckless statement, because if we go by the statistics of what has been happening prior to now, then Muslims also have a right to claim that there has been Muslim genocide in Nigeria. And as Muslims, we can cite several examples of the killings, especially in Jos, Plateau State, in Yobe State. In Jos, Plateau State, sometime in 2011, Christian militias attacked Muslims at the Eid praying ground. Now, you and I know the volume of Muslims that trooped to the Eid praying ground during Eid Kabir celebration. They killed, and what I'm saying is documented. It's on YouTube. You can search for it. They killed, roasted, and even cannibalized some of those who they killed. And we're talking about people between 300 to 600 killed within that period. Yet the Muslims didn't claim it was a genocide against the Muslims. So I'm saying that there's a need for us to dispel some of these claims, because they are not factual, they are not statistic backed. Muslims have been killed in these reckless and senseless killings even more than the Christians, and that's a fact. I watched the Pope a couple of days ago, make this statement as well, that Muslims have suffered loads of killings, by these militias. General T.Y. Danjuma also made the same statement a couple of days ago.
Who has been a Christian and also
he is not just a Christian, he is a former, he's a general. He's a general, a former CDS,
and a former Minister of Defense.
So this is a man who has knowledge of what is happening. Don't forget that he's also from Taraba State, one of the hotbeds, a Christian state, one of the hotbeds of these criminal activities. And T.Y. Danjuma stated specifically that the criminals who are killing us, Not only are they foreigners, they are not even Muslims, because he asserted that Muslims are the worst hit in this senseless killing. So there is no Christian genocide in Nigeria unless we want to play around with words.
Okay, sir. I want to say that Nigeria is very well blessed when it comes to diversity. No matter what you try, go to supposed Muslim-dominated areas, you will see a cocoon of Christians that are allowed to practice their religion in peace. And go to Christian-dominated areas, you will see cocoons of Muslims that are allowed to practice in peace. I think recently, as an Islamic scholar, you have seen how Igbos that are Muslim Igbos trying to showcase themselves, because they're trying to say that we might be dominated by Christians, but we have a community and we follow ourselves. And by statistics, even what the United States follow, talk about the senators, the rep members, even the president, they also agreed that the statistics of over 50,000 Christians have been killed, either killed or displaced, is not true. But the UN said, which we can all agree to, said that over 300,000 Nigerians have either been killed by terrorism or displaced, and more than 70% of those are Muslims. And this is where it gets interesting. Go to Katsina State,
Muslim,
you see IDPs there, IDP camps there. Go to Yobe State, you see IDP camps, Adamawa State, Borno State,
even Kogi State.
These are Muslim-dominated states. And even when you see the videos of these killings, the IDPs, you see that most of them wear hijabs, they have imams and all this. But how did we get here? Some people will say that let's look at the political angle. What soft spots does Donald Trump and his followers have for Christians that he does not have for Muslims in Gaza? He does not have for Muslims in Sudan. I think just about last week he had a conference with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, and he talked about Sudan, like on the hindsight, talking about something that is not really important, but what is going on in Sudan is far worse. What is going on in Nigeria, nobody is happy. But what is even going on in Sudan is far worse than what we're seeing in Nigeria.
Absolutely.
So why is it not, what is the most important thing about Nigeria? What is so attractive about Nigeria to Donald Trump?
Yeah, first of all, we need to understand that Nigeria is a strategic partner to the West, because we are not just the giant of Africa in terms of our size and population, but also in terms of our potentials, the mineral resources that we sit on, and so many other things. So Nigeria is a country of interest to the West, because of these blessings that we have. But more importantly, you also need to understand that the current trend of the shift in interest from the West to China and Russia, the BRICS nation, is a disturbing trend for the West, especially America, because of their interest. Now, don't forget that China is making serious inroads into Nigeria. We tend to have soft spot for China because of maybe their style of politics and business model, among several other things. So America, which has been our major partner in some of these areas, of course, is threatened. So I believe that the Christian genocide claim is a smokescreen. Behind it lies the real issue, which is America wanting Nigeria to come back to the table and let's have a discussion. You can't abandon us for China. And nobody would deny the fact that China today is one of the most productive economies in the world. So I believe that our political and economic stance is one of the reasons why Donald Trump is making those reckless statements. Don't forget also that Nigeria declared its support for the state of Palestine, at the UN,
yes,
which of course is against the interest of America. Because when you talk about genocide, what is happening in Gaza is an eyesore. It's an insult to the sensibility of anyone with an atom of brain in his head. Yet the same America that is mouthing Christian genocide in Nigeria is not only supporting Israel with weapons and money, but also resisting, the declaration of a state for the Palestinians. So that shows you that there is more to it than meets the eye. It's a political statement. But I told some people, I said, Donald Trump is not going to invade Nigeria. He is not. Whatever he said on Truth Social will come gun a-blazing. It's just Donald Trump being Donald Trump. Like the way he was attacking Zoran Mamdani, the governor-elect of New York City. But look at what happened when they met. Look at the cordiality to the point where journalists were asking Zoran, do you still stand by your statement that Donald Trump is a fascist? And when Zoran was trying to explain, Trump said, no need to explain, just say yes, it's easier. The same Trump that was insulting this guy. So I believe that what America wants is to bring Nigeria back to the table. The camaraderie we had with America, the romance we have with them. America is our biggest arms supplier, don't forget, even against the terrorists.
Yes.
So I think Donald Trump is just trying to bring us back to the table and say, guys, come on, you can't leave me for China and Russia. Let's talk.
Okay, on the flip side of it, some Nigerians have bought into the analogy that there was a Christian genocide. Even you see Christians being afraid to say that I don't see Christian genocide there, because, for example, you are from an hotspot of insecurity in Kwara State. In your local government, Christians have been killed, Muslims alike. The same thing is going on in Kwara South. This is not something we are happy with. Everybody, is against this. But there are some Christians that are not taking it to it. You see people, pastors talking on the altar, making this, buying into this. I would say things that are not true. I don't want to sound, I don't want to sound like a fascist. So, but how do we talk to our brothers? Because whether we like it or not, they are brothers. Because, like people have said, a lot of people have said that go to Libya, go to Greece, go to Iraq, go to Afghanistan, go to Iran. These guys are still battling with the marks America left in their countries. And America is even thinking about going back into Iraq. A lot of people may not know, but they are still thinking of going back into Iran. They want to have some sort of military base, which will infringe on the sovereignty of these people. How do we talk to our brothers, bring them to the table to realize that we are all in this together? These people kidnap, kill, mayhem without asking your name or your religion. Why are they doing this?
Yeah, you see, there are two things we should look at. The first is the deliberate misinformation by a section of the media. Just today, I have criticized the Punch newspaper and the Daily Mail Nigeria for deliberately twisting narratives about insecurity in Nigeria. In Bauchi, a scholar, a Muslim scholar, who is a member of the Izala group, was killed alongside, I think, one or two members of his family. The Punch newspaper captioned this as Bauchi man killed. This Bauchi man is a Muslim. This Bauchi man is a scholar. Now, if you see Bauchi man killed, no mention was made of his being a Muslim. No mention was made of his status as a scholar, of Islam. You understand? So, it's a deliberate misinformation. But put this with, if a pastor were killed, how do you think the Punch newspaper would caption it? Would he say Bauchi man killed? Would he say pastor? So this deliberate distortion of information, misinformation, is one of the reasons why we have people parroting Christian genocide, because what they read, right, is what they're talking about. Because if it's a pastor that was killed, a Christian that was killed, his religion will be mentioned. Daily Mail Nigeria also wrote today, 3 guys were arrested in Benue, right, in relation to a crime that led to 100 lives killed. 100 lives in Benue. 2 of them were Christians, their names were mentioned, and they belong to the local community. One of them is a Fulani herdsman. Do you know what Daily Mail Nigeria said? Daily Mail Nigeria mentioned the names of the 2 guys without mentioning their tribe or their religion, and said and a Fulani herdsman. Now, the average Nigerian sees a Fulani herdsman as a Muslim, even when there are Christians among herdsmen. In fact,
That's the soundbite.
there are many of them who do not even practice any religion. But we just assume that once you're a herdsman, you're a Muslim. Now, let's accept he's a Muslim. Whatever happened to the religion of the two other guys? Why not mention their religion? Why not mention their tribes? So this deliberate profiling of some people as criminals is what has informed what we see online of people saying, yes, there is a Christian genocide in Nigeria. Then number two, the fact that many of these criminals who are perpetrating these crimes shout Allahu Akbar while committing these crimes. What do you want the average Christian to think? So it's justified. Somebody is shooting and shouting Allahu Akbar, attacking military posts, killing people, kidnapping and saying Allahu Akbar, and you want the average Christian not to think it's a Christian genocide? So I think that these are the major issues that we're having. Deliberate misinformation on one hand, and of course the fact that the criminal elements themselves portray themselves as Muslims. So even when we say, oh, Muslims are being killed in this whole genocide claim, the question the Christian will ask you is, killed by who? Like we say in Ilorin, right? So if a terrorist is a Muslim and a Christian Muslim, they don't really care. Yes, it's your brother killing you. But when a Christian Christian, that is where the problem is. You understand? So I think we need to work on this stereotype, this negative stereotype, deliberate profiling of some people or some ethnic groups or religion as terrorists, deliberate distortion of information, and then of course the other one still remains that many of these criminals shout Allah Akbar, and Allah Akbar is a Muslim slogan.
Okay, sir, but let's leave. So you remember we say that now let's talk about ourselves. We are a suffering nation. These problems have always been there. For people like me, we grew up to know Boko Haram. I'm not Gen Z, right? But I think at the time I was growing up, that was when this issue of Boko Haram started growing up too, and it has been growing till date. Though they have been breaking, you see, they technically decimated, all this grammar. You always see grammar from the federal government. But here we are. Something happened in Iroko. Yesterday in Issiaq, go to KB State, same thing in Niger State, in Bauchi State, as you mentioned now. How do we get our hearts together, go beyond narrative, and tackle these issues, take the bulls by the horn? I'm talking about the government this time around, because the priority of every government should be the protection of life and properties of the citizens. How do we get ourselves out of these things?
Well, we need to understand how we got here, and then talk about how do we get out of here. If we do not know how we got here, we can never know how to get out of here. So how did we get here? Muhammad Yusuf of Boko Haram started preaching hate speech, declaring people who are not members of his group as kuffar. That's how it started. Do you know that here in Ilorin we are also sitting on the same gunpowder, which may explode in our face anytime soon? That we have an ex-convict who has a large group of young men declaring everyone not within their circle as kafir. And just recently he mentioned that all the chief imams in Nigeria are kuffar, all the muftis are kuffar. He went beyond Nigeria and said even across the world except that of Saudi Arabia. Now tell me, if this guy has access to weapons, would he not wage a jihad against the kuffar?
It's supposed.
Yes, in his own definition, it's supposed kuffar. And we're looking at him. He has declared the imam of Ilorin as a kafir, the chief imam of Ilorin as kafir, and some other people. Yet the government seems to be asleep because he has not obtained arms and ammunition. So this was how we got here, and we have started again here in Ilorin. So when Boko Haram started in the north, scholars rose, refuted him, even debated him. Albani of Zaria debated him. He was killed in 2014. Sheikh Jafar declared him as an ignorant fellow who is misleading people. He was killed in 2007. Many other scholars have been assassinated by this group. Right? So, but Boko Haram has now moved beyond that wrong ideology, wrong preaching, to, a killer machine. How do we now get out? Number one, we need to start fighting the ideology of extremism. We need to start from our schools, from our homes, in our community. The government need to deliberately now start sponsoring scholars to be preaching against these extreme ideologies. Government need to now start commissioning scholars to write books, that will destroy this ideology of takfiri in our society. That's number one. Number two, government also needs to tackle the issue of almajirism, because this issue of poverty, which has eaten deep into the north, is one of the fertile grounds for the growth of Boko Haram. People who are hungry, malnourished, hopeless, helpless. What do you expect? Even the Yorubas will say, "Owo to ba dile." Of course, an idle hand is the devil's workshop. So the government need to tackle the issue of abject poverty across the country. Good governance, education is at the bedrock, right? Just like Gumi said a couple of days ago, you have a group of people, Fulanis, who are others, no school, nothing, right? They live in the bush with the cows. He said if you leave them like that, no enlightenment, no education, they'll start behaving like animals. And that's what we have today. An educated fellow will think about making a good life for himself, about living good. He will not think about carrying gun and start killing people. So we need to tackle poverty, we need to tackle education. We also need to tackle unemployment. Now you have graduates who have finished school, no job. Because there is unemployment, there is unemployability of the graduates. We need to tackle both. If there is no job and somebody comes and offers him 10 million, 5 million naira, 10 million naira, and say, please, I want you to just let me spy on this community or on this particular person. Know when he's coming in, when he's going out, what is in his house, and when we kidnap him, we'll settle you. What do you think will happen? And that's one of the reasons why we're not able to tackle this issue of it, because there are local collaborators within the community, idle hands, who are selling information to these criminals. We also need to tackle the issue of internal sabotage within the military, the security architecture itself, sabotage within the system itself, selling out the locations of our armed troops who are fighting these criminals. And then look at the number of ambushes that have occurred even in the last few days, that a major general was captured like a chicken and executed by criminals, right? We also need to tackle the issue of corruption. Corruption is at the bedrock of all of these things. Monies that are meant to develop our countries are being siphoned by criminal politicians. So what do we do? So until we're able to solve all of these problems that I've highlighted, poverty, education, unemployment, corruption in the system, internal sabotage, right, within the system, and the scholars also decimating the ideological view of the terrorists who are invading us, before we can be able to tackle this problem. And finally, there is also no doubt that one of the major drivers of this crime is the mineral resources that we have in Nigeria, right? Many of the communities that are being attacked by these criminals have mineral resources that are being mined, and so mining is actually the major crime that they are committing. But they are using this kidnapping and banditry. We have seen people who have said, look, helicopters come to drop ammunition to the criminals in the bush. These reports have been linked on and on. What is really happening? External influence is also there. The countries that are selling these weapons and ammunition to us, do you think they want to reach customers? Why is it that we don't have constant light in Nigeria? Do you think those who are selling generators will want to lose their money? They have imported generators, so where would they sell generator if you and I have constant electricity at home? So they need to create a problem for us. There is no doubt that many of these terrorists are foreigners, like Tiwa Gandhi said. Many of them are being funded by some powers outside the shores of this country to destabilize our nation, so that one, we can continue to run back to them for arms and ammunition, so that number two, they can continue to steal our natural resources while we are battling insecurity.
Okay, sir. I want to take two things out of the recommendations that you make. Two things struck me. The first is tribalism, and I think one thing I love in Nigeria is corruption. It doesn't discriminate about
Absolutely.
Corruption is one thing. It happens with every tribe. I think I was reading President Obasanjo's autobiography the other time, and he talked about when the issue of the Bayelsa issue happened then, and he had to go inside all gun blazing the other thing. He said a lot of people criticized him, but he said, I liaised with the governor. The governor said there was nothing he could do. And he said, I knew that the governor used many of these people during the election. Now, number two is now say, okay, now I'll say, okay, let me relate with these people. He got the head of the militant, Niger Delta militants, he got them together. He said he brought them into the Aso Rock, and they talked. And then he asked them at some point, whenever we're coming to catch you, how did you get to know before we get there? He said, our people are in the army, will never sell us out. He wrote it there. The same thing is happening on the other side now. Now this issue is now escalated. Something happened in Katsina or Kano, I'm not so sure of that state. An ACP, an assistant commissioner, was kidnapped, he was killed, and when it was time for supposed peace talk with bandits, the person that killed him wore his uniform to the place to show them that we have power, we can kill you, and they're still battling with that thing. So where's the dignity? When we talk about somebody like Obasanjo and say you cannot kill soldier and I'll be looking at you, now to some extent we'll say that he's right now. So here we are. We hear about some people in Kaduna that kidnap people, and the community ganged up to kidnap their own families too, and they did it, and they even pay them money to transport themselves. And on the other hand, the issue of Nigeria, do you think we can get past that? I did a bit of history in my university days, and I realized that when we did the history of West Africa and the Fulani, Usman Fodio Jihad and everything, we realized that one of the things Sheikh Usman Fodio tried to eradicate was this Almajiri issue. It's a cultural thing that has been there for over 300 years, and they have not been able to eradicate it. They think we can eradicate it by a good, because whether we like it or not, the Almajiris is a fertile land for recruitment into any bad deed that you want, because somebody that doesn't have a house, you offer them shelter and steady food. You've captured the heart of such a person, sir.
Yeah, you see, Goodluck Jonathan, to his credit, established schools in the north, Almajiri schools. Unfortunately, Buhari, who came after him, of blessed memory, did nothing to continue that legacy. Now, imagine if within Buhari's 8 years, he did something, he built on the foundation of Goodluck Jonathan. Don't you think would have reduced that?
Exactly.
It might not be easy to eradicate at a go, but we can gradually reduce that.
I want to ask something. Do you think the northern political elite have the political will? Because this thing looks like they
don't. And the reason is not far-fetched. You see, the only way you can have a leash on a people is to deliberately impoverish and uneducate them. So when people are ignorant and they are hungry, they will rush at you at whatever crumbs you throw at them. So the northern elite are deliberately keeping a leash on their population through not providing quality education for them, and through the continuous and giving handouts, crumbs to them, so that they will always be at their beck and calls to use them for election purposes. Right? They are not ready for this conversation yet. Unfortunately, the rest of the country is suffering from the consequences of their foolish acts.
Okay, what about this issue of tribalism? Okay, even if somebody is doing something bad, for example, you have somebody that is doing internet fraud in your house, you get a hit that is going to be picked up, you are the one that tipped him off. If and then I used to tell people when somebody is doing an internet fraud, don't think they fraud the people outside alone. The people that take your money from your account while you're sleeping, some of them are Nigerians like us. Some of them are the people that could not get money from the outside and are thinking inward for the solution to their own problem. The problem we are supposedly in together. So people are, like I said, the analogy of the ones I gave, that people of the same tribe will say they are my brothers and cannot give them up. Why they are doing things that can help them at the end of the day? How to be fair on them?
Majority of Nigerians are not patriotic, and that's the fact. We do not love our country. We don't love ourselves. When a Nigerian shouts corruption is because it has not favored him. When it favors him, it's grace. So until we build the spirit of patriotism, the love for motherland, even at the expense of personal gains, we will never get out of this problem. You go on X and see how Nigerians are bad-mouthing their own country, how they are insulting their own country. Look at the lady in the UK Parliament, Kemi Badenoch, and how she speaks so ill of our country of birth, right? So we need patriotic Nigerians. Nigeria needs more patriotic Nigerians, to project our image. No matter what we are going through, right? We need to love our country more than we love ourselves. So it is true that people hide criminals. When Boko Haram started, actually the locals had sympathy for them, especially coming on the heels of the gruesome murder of Muhammad Yusuf, right, who was killed in custody. And you also remember that there was a video that Al Jazeera aired of people who were lined by the police and they were being shot from close range, including a cripple. I can never forget that video. Al Jazeera aired that video. The locals saw this as a violation of their rights, right, as an oppression, and they were hiding them and providing information about the military movement to them. Now the same locals are the casualties of that crime. Go to the southeast when the madness of Nnamdi Kanu started. IPOB, ESN, and before now we did have Masob, Nigerian Tamil, blah blah, but those ones were only kidnapping the foreigners, all installation. Yes. But the IPOB and ESN started attacking people, proclaiming sit at home on Monday, killing, destroying businesses. Initially, you see even the Igbo leaders and elites, having soft spots for them.
An average Igbo person in my class will tell me that I'm more Biafra than Nigeria.
Now, what has happened today? Who is feeling the brunt of that crime? Many of the business owners in Igbo land have moved their businesses to Lagos. Even this guy, Kubana chief priest, mentioned that he moved the business to Lagos because of insecurity in the southeast. We cannot condone crime in the guise of we have the same religion, he is my town person, we speak the same language. No, you must expose crime. You must expose criminals. The Messenger of Allah mentioned, assist your brother whether he's your oppressor or the oppressed. The Sahaba said, how do we assist an oppressor? He said, hold his hand, restrain him, do not let him oppress others. We must restrain criminals, expose criminals. This guy, Farouk, I'm trying to recollect his other name, who was an alleged suicide bomber on an American plane. It was the father. It was the
Farouk Mutalab.
Farouk Abdul Muttalib. It was the father who exposed him that my son has been radicalized in Afghanistan. How many people can do this? How many people can expose their relatives and family members, their friends, their comrades for crimes that they are committing? We all keep quiet and say, oh, no, so long as it's not affecting me. But the day it will affect you, go.
So, sir, lastly, to cap it off, the trust gap between the government and the people, how do we decide? Because naturally, Nigerians don't trust their government.
Of course.
So now we're talking about lives and properties. One way or the other, we have to find a middle ground to ask the government, please, even if it's just for the moment, let us be able to trust you. How do we correct the trust gap? How do we fill the gap to create the bridge instead of wall between the people and the people outside power and the people in power?
You see, the average Nigerian sees the average politician as a corrupt person and the government as someone who cannot be trusted. It is the job of the government to reinstate that trust. Citizens don't trust the government. Do you know why? Because the government lies to our faces. Now, recently there was a statement credited to the IGP that the reason why they did not kill the bandits who kidnapped, was it in Eruku, the 38 people, was because they came out by themselves and they had a discussion. Bayo Nanuga, who is a spokesperson
Corroborated that same statement
to President Tinubu, actually made a statement that I find so reckless for someone holding such a position, speaking on behalf of government. So that they called the bandits and they had discussion on how to release, which means that government knows these bandits, they know
where they are, they know how to reach them.
They know how to reach them. Now, sir, are you telling me that bandits wasted their time, their resources to enter Iruku, kidnap 38 worshippers, shooting sporadically? We all had the gunshot, and government just say, hey, guys, release those people, and they came back home. What government is not telling us is that negotiations went under the table. How much was paid to them? Nobody knows. Definitely money exchanged hands. Definitely. Now, we just heard that in a community in Issiaq, 11 people were kidnapped, including a pregnant woman and a nursing mother. You see, we can't continue to lie to the people. Let the people know. If you are overwhelmed, let people know, look, we're overwhelmed, but we're trying our best. But don't lie to us. Don't tell us you just caught terrorists and they released those people. Released? Even for bail, the policemen release people on bail without collecting money from them. You understand? So government will say, hey, we're not negotiating with bandits, but you go behind the people and negotiate. So how will people trust government? That if you can reach these people, then how come you have not killed them? It is the job of government to reinstate that trust if they want people to trust them. But as at today, the average citizen does not trust the government.
Do we have any reason to trust our government as it is? As things are?
Yeah, because they're lying to us. Government has never been true to us.
Thank you very much, sir. I think that has been a very lengthy, educating, and somewhat entertaining one. It has been a very huge topic, and thank you very much, sir. We really do appreciate you shifting your schedule to grant us this great honor. Thank you very much, our viewers. I remain myself, Issiaq, Abdulkadir, once again. Do have a lovely day. See you next week.
No, so
1 second.